In this video we're going to have a look at the importance of conversion and what conversion actually is and what it means. Now if you think back to module 1 of the Full Beds Forever course, one of the very first videos that we looked at was the 3 major components of your marketing, and they were strategy, lead generation and conversion. So conversion really is one of the 3 most important parts of your whole marketing process, and everything to do with your marketing can fall into one of those 3 categories. So in this module we're going to have a look at what falls in the conversion category and also why that's so important. So what is conversion? Well, conversion basically means everything that happens from the moment that a prospective new resident or their family turn up on your premises to have a look around the care home. Everything from that moment when they cross the threshold onto your premises right through to when they ultimately sign on the dotted line to say that they are going to be a new resident and then actually appear at the home. All that, everything from those 2 points, within those 2 points, comes under the heading of conversion. So that's what your home looks like, it's the aesthetics of the home, it's how your staff behave, how you take people around the home, how you follow up with them afterwards, all about objections and closing and prices and all this kind of stuff. All falls under the banner of conversion. And the next point is that really, although the 3 pillars, I listed those as strategy, lead generation and conversion, once you've dealt with the strategy, which if you remember was having something good to say and saying it well and saying it often, once you've innovated your care home and you've got the right message, before you start lead generating, you should fix the conversion process. So if you think back to when we looked at our essential conversions in that video, if you discovered that your conversion ratio wasn't very good, then you need to fix this before you start lead generating, because obviously there's no point in generating leads and driving people to the care home if for whatever reason they don't find what they want when they get there, or they're not treated in such a way that they become a new resident. So that's why really you should fix your conversion before you start lead generating. And even if you don't think you've got a conversion problem, I really would recommend you going through this module, because even if you've already got a reasonably good conversion ratio, you can always make it better. And if you remember when we looked at the compounding effect of making each sequence in the marketing system better, conversion was part of that process. And improving your conversion ratios can really help you to fill the home much quicker, get into a situation where you've got a waiting list for the care home, and therefore you can raise your prices and get into that virtuous circle that we've described before. Okay, so conversion is very, very important, and it's quite often easy to make very, very quick gains in it. So, for example, I think one of the things that we looked at before was who does the show around. This is one of the things that you should be tracking, and quite often you'll find that somebody, for whatever reason, is just so much better at it than everybody else. So it makes absolute perfect sense to make sure that that person is on hand as much as possible to do as many of the show arounds as possible. Now, the final thing I want you to think about when you're going through this training on the conversion is what I call the 78 grand moments, £78,000 moments. If you think back to the when we did the initial figures of looking at the lifetime value of a client, we did an example, I believe, for a 60-bed care home where the average length of stay was 3 years and the fees were £500. And that means that every single resident in that care home is worth £78,000 to that business. So it's important to realise this, because what I want you to do is think about conversion in these terms, in 78 grand moments. What I want you to do is imagine that when somebody comes to you, look around your care home, they're actually carrying with them a briefcase, and it's stuffed full to bursting with £78,000 in cash. And what you do and what you say and how you behave during that show around and what they see is going to determine whether they take that 78 grand and give it to you and become a resident in your home, or whether they disappear out the door and down the road to your competitors and give them the 78 grand, which I'm sure you don't want to happen. So think about everything really to do with your marketing process is in these 78 grand moments. These are opportunities for that briefcase of money to go to your competitors. So, for example, if you don't come up with a good message that resonates with your audience and makes them want to engage with your care home and your marketing, then you've dropped the ball, and that's it. You've lost them right at the start. So that's one 78 grand moment. Your website is another 78 grand moment. If somebody gets to your website and they don't like what they see and your website's a bit rubbish, and they just click away and go to look at somebody else's, that's it. You've lost them forever. And that's another 78 grand moment. If they do like the website and they think, well, this is a home I might want to go and see, but I've got a few questions, and they phone up and they can't tell what the person is saying on the other end of the line, or they're a bit standoffish with them, or nobody answers the phone, that's it again. That phone call at that point is worth £78,000 to your business. So it makes sense to ensure that every single one of these £78,000 moments goes smoothly, so that the person goes on to the next stage in your marketing funnel, your next stage in your marketing system. And the last part of that stage, the last stage of the marketing system, is the conversion process. The last stage that the prospective customer goes through, even though you're going to look at fixing this before you do the lead generation. Anyway, so the last point that they come to is when they actually come and visit the home to have a look round, and at that point they're going through the vendor selection stage. They're looking at who are we going to place our business with. We've decided we're into a care home, and it's just a question of who gets this 78 grand. So you want to make sure that that goes as smoothly as possible. And what I would also recommend you do is train all of your staff. Anybody who could come into contact with somebody on a show around needs to understand how important that show around is and what's at stake. Basically, that 78 grand contains their wages, and if they cock it up, there's a chance that people may have to be laid off in extreme circumstances. So it's important that they realise how important these show arounds are. So what I would suggest you do is make sure that all your staff are fully trained up on the conversion process, because it's what I would recommend you do is have 3 or 4 key staff, somebody who's a key member of staff on each shift, plus the manager and the assistant manager who are really well trained. But also make sure that all the rest of the staff have some training as well, so that they at least understand the importance of it. And if nobody else is available and they got caught short, they can at least do a half decent job of showing the person round. And this brings me to one final point, which I'll make before you go into the conversion training. If you think how important this is, this £78,000 moments, can you imagine if you went to buy a £78,000 Mercedes or a Jaguar or a BMW or whatever, and you went to your nice shiny Mercedes garage and you walked in and there's a lovely glamorous assistant there, and you said, she says, "Can I help you?" And you say, "Yes, I'd like to buy an S-Class Mercedes, please." And she says, "Certainly, sir. Just bear with me a second." And then she takes you down to the parts department, tucked away in the back end of nowhere, and she takes you to the junior parts assistant, and she says, "This gentleman, this young youth here, is going to handle your sale." You wouldn't be very happy about that, and it would never happen, because Mercedes understand how important that sale is. Nothing moves until somebody sells something. So this is the first thing, you got to sell something before you get any money in, before you can invest in your home, before you can attract more customers, etc., etc. So it's super, super important that you get this right. And the trouble is, in the care industry, we routinely ask people on minimum wage, and even managers, who earn a decent wage, with no sales training whatsoever, to effectively sell the S-Class Mercedes, sell the top-of-the-range Mercedes. We're entrusting them with a sale worth £78,000 for our business. And as I say, most of the time they get absolutely no training whatsoever. Can you imagine how ridiculous it would be if you took the well-paid, extremely professional, extremely experienced salesperson from the Mercedes garage who looks after the sale of the top-end cars and then plonk them in a care home and say, right, okay, now you've got to look after these residents. We're not going to give you any training. We're not going to tell you what the standards are. We're not going to give you any clues whatsoever. Off you go and just look after this person. Oh, and by the way, we're going to pay you minimum wage as well. It's ridiculous to think that we would do that, and yet we routinely do that. We routinely expect the reverse of that. We routinely expect low-paid, untrained care home staff to do the job of a salesperson who's earning in excess of £50,000 a year, and that is absolutely crazy. And that is really why you must grab hold of this in this conversion section. You must put all your staff through the conversion training so that they understand this, and you must get it into their minds and in everybody's mind in the care home that this is what their livelihoods, this is what everybody's livelihood and the success of the care home depends upon. Okay, so I've had my little rant. Now it's time for you to move on into the next section. And what we've done in the next section, we've put the audio training from our very successful audio CD, Seal the Deal, which is all about how to turn inquiries into clients. So you can work your way through that audio, the 8 tracks of the audio CD, and that will literally go through everything that you need to know to train your staff up on conversion. So go right ahead and tuck into that next, and I will see you in the video after that.